The Galactic Council had seen many species rise and fall across the stars, but none quite like the humans. They were paradoxes wrapped in flesh, fragile yet resilient. Logical, yet driven by inexplicable emotion. Ambassador Kale represented humanity at the Council's research station on Vidian 7, a jungle moon where scientists studied the ecosystem's apex predator, the Threx. Threx were magnificent and terrifying in equal measure. Standing nearly 3 meters tall on 4 powerful legs, their obsidian scales deflected most conventional weapons. 6 eyes provided 360-degree vision, and their retractable claws could slice through reinforced steel. Evolution had crafted them into perfect killing machines, and the galaxy respected their dominion over Vidian 7. Kyle had been warned. Every researcher, every council member, every safety protocol screamed the same message: maintain distance, never approach a Threx, and absolutely never interfere with their hunting patterns. Humans, the Council reminded him constantly, were not apex predators. Their bodies lacked natural weapons, armor, or enhanced senses. They were, by galactic standards, embarrassingly vulnerable. But the Council had never accounted for what made humans truly dangerous: their irrational courage. It happened during a routine perimeter check. Kale was documenting plant samples near the research station when he heard a sound that transcended species and language: the desperate crying of young in distress. His translator chip identified them as Threx cubs, probably no more than a few weeks old. Through the dense foliage, Kale saw the situation unfold. 3 cubs, each the size of a large dog, huddled against a cliff face. Above them, their mother lay motionless, likely killed by a territorial rival. And approaching with predatory intent was an adult male, Threx, the rival himself. Standard protocol: observe, do not interfere, let nature take its course. Kale's hand was already reaching for the emergency beacon when instinct overrode training. Those weren't just specimens or data points. They were children. Orphaned, terrified children, about to be killed. He ran forward, placing himself between the advancing Threx and the cubs. The creature later designated Threx Prime in the incident report, though Kale would always think of him simply as Threx, stopped. 6 eyes focused on this strange, soft thing that dared challenge him. The predator's massive head tilted, almost confused. In thousands of generations, nothing had been foolish enough to stand against a Threx without weapons or armor. Kyle raised his arms, making himself larger. "Come on then," he said, voice steady despite his racing heart. "You want them? Go through me." Threx charged. What happened next would be analyzed, debated, and studied for decades. Kale had no claws, so he used his fists. He had no scales, so he accepted the cuts. He had no enhanced strength, so he used leverage, using the Threx's own momentum against it. When claws raked across his chest, he grabbed the limb. When jaws snapped toward his throat, he jammed his arm sideways into the creature's mouth. The galaxy had forgotten that humans evolved as persistence hunters, that they came from a death world where even their pets could be lethal. They forgot that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't strength, it was stubbornness, the refusal to quit, the inability to accept defeat. Threx was stronger. Threx was faster. Threx was better armed. But Kale was human, and humans don't know when to give up. Blood painted the jungle floor, mostly Kale's. His uniform hung in tatters. Somewhere during the fight, he'd lost his translator chip and broken at least 3 ribs. The pain was extraordinary, a symphony of agony that should have shut down any rational creature. But pain was just information, and Kale had already decided to ignore it. He found a rock, a beautiful, primitive, wonderfully human solution, and brought it down on Threx's skull. Once, twice, again and again, until the predator finally staggered back. Reassessing, in those 6 alien eyes, Kyle saw something shift. Recognition, perhaps. Respect, certainly. This human was willing to die for young that weren't even his own species. This was a kind of madness. Threx could understand the madness of a parent, a protector, a guardian. Threx made a decision. With a sound that might have been acknowledgement or warning, the predator turned and melted back into the jungle. Kyle collapsed. The cubs approached cautiously, their tiny scales still soft, their eyes wide. They huddled against his bleeding form, seeking warmth and safety from the strange creature who had saved them. That's how the rescue team found him 20 minutes later, barely conscious, bleeding from dozens of wounds. Surrounded by Threx cubs who refused to leave his side, the medical bay erupted in controlled chaos. 217 stitches. The final count read. 3 broken ribs, a fractured radius, severe lacerations across his chest, back, and arms, blood loss requiring immediate transfusion. The Vidian medical staff had never treated a human with such extensive injuries who wasn't already dead. "Why?" asked Dr. Velix, the Centaurian lead physician, as she worked. "Your species lectures us constantly about protocol and procedure. Why break every rule?" Kale, drifting on painkillers, smiled weakly. "They were kids. What else was I supposed to do?" The question baffled the doctor. What else? Literally anything else. Survival was the prime directive of every sentient species. Self-preservation trumped all. Except, apparently, for humans. News of the incident spread through the council like wildfire. Xenobiologists couldn't explain it. Military analysts saw tactical insanity. Diplomats worried about the precedent. But in the research station's observation room, something remarkable happened. The 3 Threx cubs, now under careful study, showed behaviors never documented before. When Kale, still bandaged and healing, visited their enclosure, they approached. They pressed their scaled heads against the barrier. They recognized him. More remarkably, adult Threx near the station began exhibiting different behavior toward humans. Not submission, but acknowledgement. The apex predators of Vidian 7 had learned something new. That the small, soft, seemingly helpless humans possessed something more dangerous than claws or scales. They possessed heart. Kyle recovered, as humans do. The scars remained physical reminders of the day he fought a predator bare-handed. He refused commendations, avoided media attention, and returned to work as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Because to Kyle, it hadn't been extraordinary. It had been necessary. The galaxy would continue debating human nature, trying to quantify their paradoxes in neat scientific terms. But in the jungles of Vidian 7, 3 young Threx were alive because one human decided that some things protecting the innocent, defending the helpless, standing against the darkness were worth any cost. Even 200 stitches.